Ksenia, thank you so much for your time. Welcome to the show and Happy New Year.
Hi, Happy New Year.
This is exciting. I mean, we are talking about right now one of the biggest shows on the planet. We were talking about Heated Rivalry, and I feel like the last couple of weeks for you have been a bit crazy, right? Is that safe to say?
Yeah, it's been so hectic, the show, but hectic in a good way. The show, it's just taken off and, turned into this, I guess, sensation, in the month that it was being released. So yeah, it's been crazy.
It's a kind of weird and sometimes overwhelming feeling, kind of being an actor where you make something, right? You rap, right? Then you kind of
Yeah.
go on to the next journey, and then you get the call from everyone that it's going to be like dropping,
Mm.
and now it's out there. And sometimes you have a feeling, you're part of something special. But I just want to know, like, how has it been navigating the global success of Heated Rivalry so far for you?
I mean, I've said this before in another interview, but I did think there was going to be um, some initial maybe negativity or people who weren't too happy about the LGBTQ story. I did think that was gonna be a factor,
Mhm.
but literally I haven't seen anything negative. It's just been love and positivity, and it's been really nice, honestly, because the fans are so supportive. The fans of the books are obviously supportive because they love the books, but it's gained this entirely different new fan base, and all the people who are just watching the show and now reading the books, and it's just wonderful. It's been so much positivity and so much love, and yeah, it's honestly been amazing.
Absolutely. And I kind of want to go back to kind of the early stages. And I find it so funny sometimes when I ask audition process questions to, my guests, because depending on when the show came out or the audition, sometimes we're going way back, right? Like sometimes people
Yeah.
have done like a tape for a show and then 3 years later they work on it, right? So like what was the
Mhm.
process like for Heated Rivalry? Like did you audition for Svetlana?
Yeah, so I think I want to say February of last year, I got an audition, and it was for the character Svetlana for this project called Heated Rivalry. I didn't know what Heated Rivalry was. I just saw it looked like a cool character, something about hockey, da da da, whatever. Did the audition, had a great time, and I really liked it because the character was supposed to be a Russian speaking character, and I speak Russian because I'm half Russian. And I thought it'd be a cool opportunity, but I didn't hear anything for a couple months. I'm like, okay, whatever. Especially in February, March, actors get a ton of auditions because it's because there's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of stuff filming. So I kind of forgot about it, whatever. And then I think around, I want to say maybe the end of May, I got contacted again, and it was like, "Oh, you have a callback for HR," and I'm like, "What's HR?" I can't remember anything recently that was called that, and I was like, "Oh, right," and that's when I looked into it, and I'm like, "Oh, there's books, oh, there's this, okay, super cool," because I don't research everything extensively that I audition for just because there are so many things. Um, but once I get the callback, I'm like, oh, okay, this is cool. Um, and I did the callback, and I remember doing the callback. The casting director's Wi-Fi cut out after I did this super long monologue, and I didn't I ended the scene, and it's just I don't hear anything for 30 seconds, and I'm like, oh my god, they hated me. They don't even know what to say. I was like, oh, I screwed it up. Um, but yeah, one of the other casting directors connected to the call. She's like, "We're so sorry, our wife got out. You're doing great." Da 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 da. And then I did it again in another language. I did it in English and in Russian, and um, yeah. And while the Wi-Fi was cut out, the other casting director was telling me about how oh, we cast the hottest guys and da 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 da. And I was like, oh, that's so funny. Um, and yeah, and then I didn't hear anything back for maybe another week or two, and then they were like, "Oh, you got the part. Oh, you're also gonna be on set next week." And I'm like, "Oh," it was everything was did the audition in February, and I didn't hear for months, and then it's just okay, now you're working. It was all very very quick, but I like jumping into a project quick. I don't really like ruminating on it, sitting on it. I think you can build up nerves if you do that.
Mhm.
So it was nice to jump into it.
I think the best thing about, especially specifically with Pop Alternative, my show too, like I love the BTS kind of craft based questions. And I also love the
Mhm.
like how we got here. And I always find it funny because there's so many things people see, like some of the really, really, their favorite scenes in Heated Rivalry. And we all know that there's
Mhm.
so many stories behind that scene, right? Like maybe things change, right? But you're even talking even before filming, right? Which is so interesting, kind of getting there. So I love that. Does it feel like, you know, like, because so much does happen before you go to camera on something like this. Does it feel like two journeys before filming Heated Rivalry and after filming Heated Rivalry? Does it feel like one big storytelling journey with multiple steps in between them?
I mean, yeah, I would say like, you know, filming is its own thing, you know, because when you're filming something, you know, it's very much like an echo chamber because you're just around like the cast and the crew, and you know, you don't know how the show's going to do. It might do amazing, it might not do amazing, you know. It might get international, like, you know, like streaming, it might get on this, it might not. You never know, right? So I would say filming and then everything after are like two different, you know, journeys. But yeah, after it's just been amazing. Like during was very fun, but you know, after is amazing. Like, you know, like that the show is doing so well so fast. But yeah,
absolutely. I always find it very interesting whenever you have something that's adapted, like a show or movie that was a book before. There's always going to be this tug of war, this push and pull of, you know, what's going to be in the show that was in the books, what's not going to be in the like books, but in the show. Because at the end of the day, this is, you know, what this global phenomenon right now, you know, Ksenia, is, you know, the Heated Rivalry show on Crave and HBO Max. It's not the book, right? So there's going to be differences. So there are a lot of changes, you know, specifically also with your character and certain storylines that weren't in the books. Can you tell me what those conversations were like with Jacob about those changes a little bit? Like there is, you know, some changes to, you know, the friendship and relationship between, you know, Svetlana and Ilya. There's a lot of other things. There were scenes that weren't even in any of the books that are taking the world by storm now that are in the show. Like, what are those conversations like with Jacob about that?
I mean, I knew that the character was going to be different, at least Svetlana's character. I knew that was going to be different because before I went and on set and started filming, I didn't have time to read the book. I would have if I had time, but I didn't have time to read the book. But I like searched everything up about the character, like when she appears, what type of relationship they have, and I knew it was going to be much different than the book. But I thought it was a good change. Like I think sometimes when adapting a book, it's not always you can't do one for one, you know, like stuff has to be different, not only like for the pacing of a TV show, you know, but also just for the story aspect, you know, like sometimes things can be like changed in a good way. I know a lot of the times, like, you know, fans of books or comics, they don't usually like big changes, but I thought this was a change that kind of extrapolated on their world and their relationship, and I thought it really worked. And I thought those were really good change by Jacob. He made other changes that I liked as well. I thought, for example, like meshing the two stories of like Scott and Kip were good as well. Like, so you can see how, like, you know, them coming out and on the ice and coming out publicly is gonna, you know, affect how the two leads, like, of our show, like Shane and Ilya, think about their relationship. You know, it was nice to see, like, oh, okay, like this is actually affecting them in the real life. Like they're all in like one universe.
Absolutely. For you specifically, I always find it interesting when you have a show, whether it's a rom-com, whether it's an action, a horror, or a movie, when you have something that has like sports or music in it, right? For you, like working on Heated Rivalry, was it a hockey show that had an LGBTQ love story? Was it an LGBTQ rom-com show that was about hockey players? Like, it's interesting to think about where hockey fits in, right, in that story.
Yeah, so when I signed up to do the show, I guess because I didn't read the book fully, so I thought there was going to be more hockey involved. And even when we were filming, like I remember one time we had to do press, and it ended up being or like stills, like still photography shots for promo. And
like
I
a
remember
media day,
we actually ended up doing those. we did one in one of the clubs we were filming, and then one in an ice rink. So I was always under the assumption that there was gonna be more hockey. But you know what? I'm kind of glad the show is how it is, and it more focuses on like the inner workings of the characters than the hockey. But they do still have a lot of those conversations, you know, like even in their intimate moments, it's like they're still talking about it, and it's still on their mind, which I like, because you know that's how athletes are. They're obsessive, and they are always thinking about it. So
Yeah, absolutely. And it was, it was a big story, when the episodes kept rolling out that Connor Storrie plays Ilya, did not speak Russian prior to Heated Rivalry. And you mentioned in the beginning of this interview, you did know Russian. You spoke Russian. So I kind of want to know a little bit about, like, and I'm sure you're asked this a lot, but like, preparing with Connor, and like, that
yeah.
prep, like, did he ask you for any help sometimes? Like, I'm just wondering about that specifically.
Well, he was already working with a dialect coach for a while before we started filming. So by the time I met him, like I was like, oh my god, wow, like your pronunciation's amazing. Like, how did you learn this phonetically? Like, this is like insane. Yeah, like even like this, like a lot of like little sounds that like are very hard for people who don't speak the language. Like he got down very well. But yeah, I remember the first scene we ever filmed the night before. We were like staying at a hotel, and we just went down to the lobby and we worked on it. And I was like, honestly, like I can't. Like he was like, oh, like is this sound good? Does this sound good? I'm like, you honestly have it down. Like like I can't give you any notes or anything. Like it sounds so good. Like I was blown away. But yeah, I already speak Russian as my first language. So I grew up speaking the language, and yeah, I was just happy to use that skill and play a character that speaks Russian. Yeah.
I know in the moment, the, job of an actor is to be present and focus on the character and the storyline. You show up on set, you're Svetlana, that's it, right? They yell cut, and then, it's out of your hands essentially. But, we have seen, especially with these week-to-week drops, these monumental kind of scenes and moments in the series that have taken the world by storm, the funeral scene specifically, so I'm just kind of wondering, like, I know you try not to do this, but are you ever conscious of the audience member watching Heated Rivalry while you're making it at all, or is that something that happens a little bit after you wrap?
I guess,
like, do you ever go like, wow, people are gonna
people are gonna watch this.
Yeah,
I've been acting for a while, but like I act mainly like Canada, right? And like, I don't ever really think anyone's gonna watch anything I'm on. I know that sounds like it's not in a negative way. It's just like I never really think about it. I'm just like, oh yeah, maybe people won't. But I never let it like affect my performance or change my performance or anything. I just, I'm the character on set, and we film, and I am that like individual, and then I take it off and I go home. Yep. But yeah, I never really think about how it's going to be, perceived. Like there are some things that, it was so funny that like I didn't even know like I would do with my face, and then people would like, post it and be like, oh my god, that's so funny. Like, when like Svetlana and Ilya are in bed, and she goes, oh yeah, like he's gorgeous, isn't he? And goes, yeah, I guess, if you think so. And she's like, I think so, but I didn't even know like that's something that like, people would be watching and like, I guess finding funny or, whatever. But it is interesting to see like what I guess so many people think of the show, and even of your like individual performance, or even like little nuances like movements. But yeah, I'm never really aware of it while I'm filming.
It's true. Like I'm a filmmaker as well, and some of my things that are like screen at festivals, it's like certain things really kind of sink in with the audience that you wouldn't think about. You know what I mean? Like it's just a scene in your thing. Which is so interesting. And then final question, we know season 2 is coming, and Svetlana gained a lot of popularity, I feel like, while these seasons have kind of aired, because she is an ally and people love this character. And I'm just wondering, there's not much anyone could say about season 2, but like are there certain things you're hoping we will see from Svetlana in like season 2? Are you thinking about that? Or are you just trying to kind of like focus on the fact that people are loving season 1? Like, what's that like for you?
Season 2, I mean, Jacob could really change it up. So I don't know. You know, in the books, I know Svetlana and Ilya, they kind of go through like a period of separation. But it is because their relationship was different in the books, and she also didn't know that he was bisexual, and it's like all these things factor in. But in the show, she does. So I do wonder what's going to happen with that. I mean, if what I am looking forward to, maybe if this happens, I hope some of the female characters meet each other. I don't know. I hope Svetlana maybe meets Shane. I don't know. Just the meshing of the worlds. You know, I'm interested to see what happens in season 2.
Absolutely. Well, you know, we're gonna have to wait for a while, and people are gonna be so excited. But you know, season 1 on Crave in Canada and HBO Max in the US. They can check out Heated Rivalry now. Ksenia, it's so great chatting with you. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you for having me on.
You have an Instagram account where people keep up to date with everything, right?
Yeah, it's Ksenia Daniela, just like my name.
Awesome. Well, this has been PopTurner, youtube.com/PopTurner. For previous episodes, you can catch Ksenia as Svetlana in Heated Rivalry on Crave and HBO Max. Until next time, this is Ksenia and Peter Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to PopTurnative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of PopTurnative on YouTube.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.